My younger sister took me to court to fight for the right to be a mother. To the very child I've been raising. She said, I'm the one who truly deserves to be her mom, because I wanted to keep her even before you did. I thought the nightmare was over, until her lawyer showed up at my door. If you haven't seen the previous part, my younger sister once asked to adopt my baby, since she couldn't get pregnant. But after a series of painful events, I decided to keep the baby, and thought that was the end of it. I never expected the nightmare would return, this time with a court summons. I'll put the link to the previous part in the comments. I still wasn't over that night's message, or the photo of Elijah in his crib, clearly taken by someone hiding. I immediately changed the locks, drew all the curtains, and installed cameras around the house. But deep down, I knew, if Lana had decided to come back, she wouldn't stop easily. I didn't go to the police, there wasn't enough solid proof. I was afraid that if I pushed too hard she'd disappear, and return in a worse way. I wanted to stay in control, not let the nightmare lead me. I started keeping a journal, writing down even the smallest things that happened each day. One of Elijah's burp cloths suddenly went missing, even though I was sure I'd left it in the right place. I needed to prepare for the worst, but part of me hoped I was just being paranoid. 3 weeks later, Lana sent a public message. I'm sorry, please let me see my nephew, just 5 minutes. I almost threw my phone across the room, but my heart wasn't as hardened as I thought. I spent hours watching Elijah sleep, his tiny face, lips gently pressed together in deep slumber. I wondered if one day he'd hate me for cutting Lana out of his life completely. All I knew was, I needed to do the right thing, but what even was right anymore? 2 days later, I replied, if you're really sorry, meet me first, alone. And then I waited, with a suspicion heavier than the night outside my door. Lana really showed up. No makeup, skinnier than before, dark circles under her eyes. She sat across from me and said just 3 words, I'm so sorry. My throat tightened, not from emotion, but from alertness. She started crying, genuinely this time. No live stream, no theatrics, just shaky, broken sobs. I fell into depression after everything. I lost all my contracts, my reputation. I stayed silent, my eyes locked on her purse, where she could be hiding a recording device. Lana pulled out a photo of the 2 of us hugging in front of our preschool. I didn't come to take your son, I just want your forgiveness. I didn't say a word, but I didn't ask her to leave either. I let Lana see Elijah, exactly 5 minutes, like I promised, and I never let go of him. She just watched, tears in her eyes. No video, no acting. I started to doubt myself. Had she really changed? From that day on, Lana texted every morning. Hope my nephew has a great day. Nothing more, no request to meet, no bothering me. I didn't reply, but I didn't block her either. A month later, I got an email from the court. Lana had filed a petition for legal visitation with Elijah, under the blood relative clause. That's when I realized, the real game had just begun. I sat frozen in front of the court email. Lana didn't need to prove she was a fit mother, just that she was his biological aunt. I felt the ground shift beneath me, slowly, but inevitably. I went to see a lawyer, for the first time since Elijah was born. He reviewed the case and said bluntly, this is a sensitive situation. If she proves she's mentally and financially stable, the court may allow it. A chill ran down my spine. Lana knew exactly how to paint a perfect version of herself online. I tried to keep life normal, took Elijah for his shots, went grocery shopping, walked in the park. But I always felt like someone was watching. One time, I spotted a familiar car parked 2 blocks from our house. It drove off when I got close. I started recording every time I left the house. Elijah was still too young to understand, but sometimes he'd smile at the window, staring outside. It creeped me out. Was he seeing someone? Or was I just being paranoid? One afternoon, I received an email from an online news outlet. The headline, Woman loses custody to her sister, and her road to redemption. The thumbnail showed Lana, lightly made up, holding a teddy bear identical to the one Elijah clutched at home. The article went viral. Most comments sided with the poor mother. They called me a cruel sister, a heartless woman, a monster who stole a mother's sacred bond. I didn't know who gave them the story, but I was sure it wasn't an independent journalist. I broke down crying for the first time since giving birth. I held Elijah, trying to swallow the pain, but the tears kept coming. Elijah whispered, Mommy, like a lifeline pulling me back to the present. On the first day of court, Lana wore simple clothes, no live streams, no press. She walked into the courtroom looking humbler than I ever imagined. Her lawyer was someone who had represented influencers suing media companies, a familiar face. I sat across from my sister and saw something cold in her eyes. Not guilt, not family love, just pure determination. I realized this wasn't about the child anymore. This was about revenge. The hearing was postponed due to missing financial documentation from Lana. She just smiled and said quietly to me, I just need a little more time. I shivered, because I knew time was exactly what she needed to prepare an even deadlier blow. I started gathering evidence, screenshots, old chats, even the fake pregnancy plan Lana had once drafted. My lawyer said, "We need to prove she has a history of manipulation and deceit." I nodded, but deep down, I was anxious. Was everything I had really enough? One night, I was woken up by a soft knock on the downstairs window. Elijah was still sound asleep, but I heard a whisper outside. "Mommy, Mommy!" I rushed out with a bat in hand, but there was no one, just a doll sitting on the doorstep. I installed more security cameras inside the house, in the bedroom, hallway, and balcony. Part of me was terrified, but another part was furious. How could someone who used to be my sister be this cruel? I checked the footage every night, hoping I was just imagining things. Online, the story kept spreading. An anonymous account posted old pictures of me and Lana, captioned, "Sisterhood, beyond repair." I started getting anonymous messages. "A mother like you doesn't deserve the title." Old friends began avoiding me. Someone said, "I don't even know who to believe anymore." And I understood. In this era, the one who tells the story first usually wins. I took Elijah to my mom's place in the countryside for a few days, hoping to escape the chaos. But just a day later, a group of YouTubers showed up at my mom's gate with microphones. "Is it true you kidnapped your sister's child?" My mom fainted after the incident. She had to be hospitalized for a heart check. I sat beside her hospital bed, feeling hollow. Never imagined things could get this vicious. She held my hand and said just one thing. "Don't let your child go through what you did." I considered taking Elijah abroad for a while, but my lawyer warned, "If you do that now, the court might see it as an attempt to evade investigation." I felt trapped. Staying was dangerous. Leaving could be illegal. One night, I did a silent live stream. No talking, just a quiet video of me holding Elijah as we slept. I didn't want to bash Lana or defend myself, just let people see the truth. The stream didn't go viral. No one shared it. But I kept it up, as a quiet witness to what we were going through. The next morning, I received an email from the court. Lana had requested a psychological evaluation of me. Her claim, signs of severe depression, unfit to care for an infant. I let out a bitter laugh, so now even love could be weaponized. I agreed to the court-ordered evaluation. The doctor asked me, "Do you often feel anxious, have trouble sleeping, or feel threatened?" I wanted to say yes, but instead I shook my head, because who would believe me if I told the truth? After the assessment, I saw Lana's latest post. She was volunteering at a nursing home. Caption, "Who says a woman who can't give birth can't be a mother?" Thousands of hearts and comments poured in. "You're such an amazing woman." I saw that photo while Elijah had a high fever and was rushed to the hospital. I sat in the waiting room, mind in a mess, while my sister continued her beautiful performance. Sometimes I wondered, am I the only one who sees who she really is? The doctor told me Elijah just had a mild viral infection. I exhaled in relief, but also knew, this time it was minor. What about next time? The anxiety clung to me, hour after hour, minute after minute. One night, while I was wiping Elijah down, the doorbell rang, loud and relentless. I looked through the peephole. A woman I didn't recognize was holding an envelope. She said, "I was hired to deliver this," and told to say, "A mother is only temporary." I opened the envelope. Inside was a fake birth certificate, with Lana listed as the mother. A chill ran through my spine. Was she planning to use this in court to claim custody? My lawyer said, "It's forged, but consider it a warning." Elijah had started speaking. One night, in his sleep, he mumbled, "Auntie." I held him tight, not knowing if he was dreaming or had overheard something I'd missed. I decided to review the night footage. At 2 a.m., a faint light glimmered through the window blinds. A shadow passed across the camera frame and stood still outside the window for a long time. I reported it to the police. They came, made a note, and left saying, "No sign of forced entry, probably just a homeless person." I knew they didn't believe me, just like so many others. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. This wasn't a game. I started journaling every day, my emotions, events, anything unusual. Not to vent, but to prepare. In case one day, I'd have to defend myself in court. Because I could feel it. That day was coming, fast. One morning, I went to pick up Elijah from daycare. The teacher asked, "Did you authorize another relative to pick him up yesterday?" I froze. I hadn't asked anyone. She said, "A woman claimed to be his aunt, but she didn't have any ID." I checked the security footage at the school, too blurry to see clearly. But the walk, the hair, the shoes. I knew it was Lana, no mistake. I rushed home, checking every lock, every window, every camera. Elijah was sleeping peacefully in his crib, so peaceful it made my throat tighten. But inside me was an unshakable dread, like a bomb waiting to go off. I filed an emergency petition to the court requesting a temporary restraining order. My lawyer said, "You need more concrete evidence, suspicion alone isn't enough." I felt helpless, like I was playing a chess game where the other side was always one move ahead. Lana posted a new live stream, crying, talking about the pain of being abandoned by her family. She called Elijah, "my beloved baby," and twisted the past into a completely distorted narrative. The comments were flooded with sympathy. "Stay strong, sis, don't give up." A strange account sent me a video of Lana standing outside the daycare, staring intensely at the gate. The footage was taken from far away, but it was clear enough to prove she was still approaching Elijah without permission. I saved it, my hands shaking. Someone else out there was watching this story unfold too. I hired a private investigator to follow Lana. Just 3 days later, he sent me photos of her meeting with a man, her own personal lawyer. I knew she was preparing something bigger. That night, Elijah had a high fever and a mild seizure. I rushed him to the hospital. While I waited for test results in the hallway, a nurse came over and whispered, "A strange woman just asked for Elijah's room." She claimed to be his biological mother. A chill ran through me. I searched every room, every corridor. No one matching the description was found. But at the front desk, a piece of paper had been left behind, a crude drawing of a mother and child, with the words, "Soon." I requested Elijah be moved to a private floor with tighter security. The doctor agreed, but warned me to stay calm. Too much stress could affect both my milk supply and Elijah's health. I nodded, but deep down I knew, peace was now a luxury I couldn't afford. I withdrew my earlier petition and filed a new one, this time an urgent request for a no-contact order. My lawyer said, "You need to clearly outline all recent harassment to convince the judge." I nodded. It was time to fight back with truth, no more retreating. I printed every photo, message, livestream clip, even the footage of Lana at the preschool. Each piece of evidence felt like a dagger to my own fear, but I knew I had to face it. The court scheduled a hearing in 5 days. During that time, I completely logged off social media. I shut everything out, focused only on Elijah and preparing our case. But every time I saw him smile, I wondered, will he ever understand that everything I'm doing is to protect him? One night, I heard the doorbell ringing repeatedly. I stepped outside, no one. On the floor was a small gift wrapped in floral paper. Inside was a stuffed animal Elijah had lost long ago, and a card. "Mommy always remembers you." I handed the item over to the police as new evidence. They took it for fingerprinting but warned me, "It won't be easy unless we catch someone in the act." I understood. I was fighting a ghost dressed as an angel. Then I received a summons. Lana's legal team was calling me as a witness. She had countersued, claiming I was denying her lawful rights as an aunt and defaming her online. My lawyer said, "Don't worry, it's a psychological tactic. We'll handle it." I didn't respond. I just clenched my fists as I reread Lana's old posts. She never mentioned me by name, but the implications were clear enough to turn me into a villain for her followers. The internet is strange. Who really knows what's real and what's just a performance? One day before the hearing, I received an anonymous voice message. A woman whispered, "You'll lose everything, even the child, unless you give him to someone who deserves him." I deleted it right away, but I couldn't delete the trembling inside me. That night, I held Elijah as we slept, unable to relax. I had locked the doors, drawn the curtains, checked the cameras. But even in the dark, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching us, closer than I could bear to imagine. The hearing began on a cold morning. The courthouse was quiet, but the tension was razor sharp. Lana walked in wearing a simple white dress, holding a photo album with a newborn on the cover. She smiled at me like nothing had ever happened. My lawyer spoke first, presenting evidence of harassment, threats, and misleading live streams. I sat quietly, clutching a photo of Elijah sleeping, to remind myself why I was there. A few people in the back secretly filmed, probably planning to upload drama content. Lana's rebuttal came with tears and a choked voice. She said I was cruel, selfish, and denying an infertile woman the chance to be an aunt. I saw a few people nodding. Sympathy was shifting toward her. She presented screenshots of old messages from me, ones where I said things like, "If you need a kid to fill the void, find another way." They were taken out of context, twisted, and deformed, but the effect was real. Whispers echoed around the room. My lawyer stood up and calmly asked, "Can you tell the court who sent the stuffed animal and threatening card to my client's house?" Lana went silent, her lips pressed tightly together, blinking rapidly. The judge called for a 15-minute recess to review the records. I stepped outside, leaned against the hallway railing, and sighed. A woman I didn't know approached and slipped a piece of paper into my hand. "I work at a studio. I know who hired someone to fake a live stream pretending to be the biological mother." I unfolded the paper. It was a deposit receipt from a home livestream studio, with the client's name, Lana D. I immediately went back into the courtroom and handed the document to my lawyer. This evidence would shift everything. My lawyer smiled, for the first time that day. Back in court, we submitted the new evidence and requested a legal review. The judge accepted and postponed the final ruling for 7 more days to verify all related elements. Both Lana and I were ordered not to contact Elijah during that time, though I retained primary custody. Outside the courthouse, Lana came close to me and hissed, "You think you've won? Elijah is what's left of me. You don't deserve him." I looked her straight in the eye, for the first time without trembling. My child is not a replacement for the emptiness inside you. Lana gave a cold laugh and turned away, but I knew the fight wasn't over. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to Elijah, watching him breathe, wondering how the final hearing would unfold. In my heart, I knew this was no longer about right or wrong. It was about protecting a child's soul from a spiral of hatred. The next morning, I got a call from a blocked number. A woman's shaky voice came through. I used to be Lana's assistant. I can't stay quiet anymore. She said she had a recording proving Lana staged everything from the beginning. I met her at a cafe, phone recording ready. She sat in a hidden corner, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, and handed me a USB drive. This has audio of Lana planning with the director, hiring an actor to pose as Elijah's father. I was stunned, though part of me had always suspected. Even those live streams of Lana, pouring her heart out to the baby's father, were all scripted. I thanked her and rushed the USB to my lawyer. He immediately filed a motion to submit the new evidence. In a closed hearing, we played the audio. Lana's voice was unmistakable. As long as the internet believes he's mine, she can't do anything. The judge frowned and ordered a forensic verification of the recording. He also asked me if I wanted to press charges for impersonation, fabrication, and online harassment. I paused for a moment before answering. All I want is to live in peace with my son. Lana didn't appear at the next hearing. Her lawyer filed a motion to withdraw, citing inability to continue representing an uncooperative client. I exhaled. Maybe this was finally the end. But that night, my doorbell camera caught someone standing outside my house at 2 a.m. They didn't knock, just stood there staring into the camera. The next morning, Elijah had a mild fever, and I found a handprint on the back windowsill. Terrified, I checked the whole house, changed all the locks, and called the police. There were no signs of forced entry, but I knew the peace I longed for hadn't arrived. And deep down, one question pierced my heart. If Lana won't stop, what else must I do to protect Elijah? I decided to send Elijah to stay with his grandmother for a few days, just to be safe. Though my mom didn't know all the details, she hugged Elijah tight and whispered, "Peace doesn't come on its own, you have to fight for it." I returned home alone, turned on every light, and stayed awake all night. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message from a hidden number. "Elijah is such a good boy. I understand now why you can't let go." I rushed to Elijah's room out of reflex, but of course, he wasn't there. The room was quiet, empty, except for his favorite stuffed bear, lying face down on the bed. I collapsed to the floor, overwhelmed by a fear I had never felt before. The next day, I went to the police and told them everything, even the parts I had kept hidden. They took my statement, advised me to stay in regular contact, and recommended installing a GPS tracker for Elijah. I was beginning to feel like Lana had taken over every part of my life. While checking the mailbox, I found an envelope with no return address. On the front, it said, "For Elijah when he's old enough." Inside was a handwritten letter, shaky but filled with emotion. "I'm sorry for trying to bring you into my life the wrong way. But one thing is true. You were born out of love, not revenge." I brought the letter to my lawyer and asked for handwriting verification. He nodded. Lana seems to be wavering, but it could just be her next move. I didn't know what to hope for anymore, true remorse or just another mask. That night, I got a FaceTime call from an anonymous account. On the screen was a hidden camera view of Elijah playing with Grandma, filmed through a crack in the door. Then a whisper came through. "He's still in my sight." I put the phone down, my hands trembling uncontrollably. I never thought I'd have to go up against my own flesh and blood like this. But now I understand Lana isn't my little sister anymore. She's someone willing to risk everything just to prove she's worthy of being a mother. I moved Elijah to a safer place, my trusted friend's home in the suburbs. No one else knew the location, not even my mother. I even bought a new SIM card, used only for anything related to my son. A week passed by in an eerily calm silence. No messages, no anonymous calls, no figures lurking outside. I started to hope that maybe, just maybe, it was finally over. But on the 8th day, my friend called in a panic. Someone came pretending to be a healthcare worker, saying they were sent by the mother to check on Elijah. She managed to keep him safe, but the person left before she could confront them. I was shaking. Lana had somehow tracked down the new address. I went straight to the police station and filed for a formal restraining order, submitting all the evidence I had. They opened an official investigation into stalking and harassment. That night, I couldn't sleep. I rewatched Lana's old livestream, the one where she cried and said she was the better mother. I studied every gesture, every flicker in her eyes, and realized something terrifying. She genuinely believed it. The next morning, I found a strange package at my door. Inside was a photo album. Pictures from our childhood, me and Lana when our parents were still alive, all the way to Dad's funeral. And scrawled on the last page, "You were always the one who got the love." I just sat there, frozen. Maybe this was never just about one child. Maybe it was a lifelong psychological war between two sisters, one I never even realized was happening. I finally texted Lana for the first time since the court hearing ended. "Why are you doing this? You used to be the best little sister I had." A while later, she replied, "Because you have everything. You have a child. I don't." I stared at the message, overwhelmed. Should I be angry? Should I feel pity? Or were both feelings too small for what she'd done? I texted back, "If you need someone to talk to, I'm still here. But please, don't hurt my son anymore." Lana didn't reply all day. But that evening, I got a notification from my doorbell camera. She was standing outside in the rain. And then she turned and walked away. Suddenly, I was pulled back to our childhood. Back to being the protector. And Lana, the little girl always crying about being left behind. Had I abandoned her again? Just because I had a child and she didn't? That thought hit me like a wave. That night, Mom called. She said, "I've heard everything, and I want you to know, I was wrong not to hold Lana's pain too." I couldn't hold back my tears. The next day, I asked Lana to meet me. Somewhere public, with witnesses. I didn't bring Elijah. Just an old photo of the two of us as kids. Lana showed up, thinner, dark circles under her eyes, but still trying to look strong. She sat down, wouldn't look at me, and said, "You won." I replied, "This isn't a contest, Lana, this is family." There was a long silence, and then she broke down. Not the kind of crying she did on live streams. Real, raw sobs from someone who just lost the last thread tying them to sanity. I don't know what got through to her. My words, or the truth that she had no more moves left to play. Then she handed me a small box. Inside was Elijah's newborn bracelet, the one that had gone missing. I took it that day, so he'd have something from me. I didn't say anything. I just quietly took the bracelet back. Somewhere, in all that chaos, a piece of the real Lana still existed. But I also knew, kindness alone couldn't fix everything. I didn't hug her. I didn't blame her either. We just sat there in that empty cafe, two strangers trying to find something they'd lost. Maybe that was the last time I'd see her as a sister. A few days later, I got a call from my lawyer. Lana had voluntarily withdrawn all her legal claims. She also signed an agreement not to approach Elijah again. I exhaled, but didn't feel fully relieved. Elijah still sleeps peacefully every night, as if no shadow had ever hovered near him. I watch him and wonder about the future, about the questions he'll ask one day when he's older. I don't know if I'll have all the right words, but I promise I'll always tell him the truth. I've started keeping a journal, writing everything down, even the things that are hard to say out loud. Not to complain, but so Elijah will one day understand. He was born in love, but also in the midst of deeply human wounds. A week later, I received a package with no return address. Inside was a self-published children's book, titled The Invisible Sister. Author, Lana. I opened it. The story was about two sisters, one who always felt unseen, always longing to be noticed. At the end, the older sister finally realized that even without the spotlight, her sister had always existed. I closed the book, tears falling before I even realized. That night, I held Elijah tightly and whispered, "I can't promise you'll grow up in a perfect world, but I promise I'll always protect you, even from those I once loved." Before bed, I looked out the window, the same one where I once saw footprints. There was nothing now, just a quiet night and the soft glow of streetlights. And I understood. Not all pain can be healed, but some of it can be forgiven. If you felt something from this story, and believe some relationships deserve another chance, leave a comment. I still believe in change. Because sometimes not every ending needs a winner and a loser, just someone brave enough to stop, so things don't go too far.